Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator. Joining me is Bo Belotti. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
It is a pleasure having you here with us today. And I want to kick this off with having you introduce yourself to our audience and letting them know a little bit about your background and experience.
Yeah. So my name is Bo Belotti. I am honored by any pronouns. I am a community organizer and currently state chair of Virginia's chapter of Trans Radical Activist Network. I've been community organizing around trans issues in Virginia since I was 17. I guess technically 16. So since 2016. Yeah, and that's just kind of a little bit about me.
Awesome, awesome. As you said, you started at 16 when it comes to activism. What really sparked, your interest in activism and getting involved?
Yeah, so it's kind of a sad story, but I feel like a lot of people's introductions to activism are. So I came out as trans in 2014, and in that time, after I came out at school, a student threatened to kill me, and then the next day he brought a knife to school. And I went to an administrator or a faculty member, and they more or less said, well, you can't expect everyone to agree with your lifestyle. And that was kind of a moment that really solidified for me that if anything was going to get better, that like I would have to be one of the people to do that. And from there, I started lobbying at my local school board for about a year and a half, demanding multiple things to make lives better for trans youth in my area.
Awesome, awesome. And let's talk about the organization that you're involved with. When did you get involved?
So National actually only formed in August. So we're super new.
Mhm.
The Virginia chapter actually just hit 50 members across the state yesterday,
Awesome.
which is amazing because we formed probably like October like 15th, 16th.
Mhm.
So we're really only talking about a month and a half of time, but folks are super, super excited about this kind of work. And really like, being in Virginia, the beginning of the South. And specifically, I'm organizing from Richmond, Virginia, currently the former capital of the Confederacy. Like,
Mhm.
so we're weaving in elements of intersectional liberation and racial justice as well, because that's just so important to what we do. But because of that historical context, there just simply aren't a lot of organizations doing more like quote unquote radical work within these spaces, especially for trans and queer people. So that's kind of the niche that we're trying to fill.
That is so important. It's so important that that niche is being filled and that, there is a space and a place for people to go ahead and, get into that radical activism. Let's talk a little bit about your activism and some of the things that you've done and some of the accomplishments that you've been proud of as you've been an, advocate and community organizer.
Yeah. So to kind of go in chronological order, I started at the school board level. I demanded a committee made up of like a superintendent advisory committee made up of minority representatives from the districts in Stafford, Virginia.
Mhm.
I asked for anti-bias training on race, class, gender, disability or ability, and then, like gender identity and sexual orientation.
Mhm.
And then a updated anti-discrimination policy to include gender identity and sexual orientation. Those are my three big demands. I lobbied for a year and a half total, and I actually achieved every single one of those in that
Oh,
time frame.
awesome. Awesome. Let's talk about this picture. Where is this?
Yeah, so this is actually at a reproductive rights rally. Like this is like the day after Roe v. Wade was overturned.
Oh.
And I'm very proud of this because I showed up and I just came up to the organizers and I was like, is anyone going to give any perspective on trans folks that need abortions?
Hmm.
Because if not, like give me 60 seconds. And then they found me talking to someone who's running for Senate, and they were like, you both have 60 seconds and we want you to be up there to talk in the next 2 minutes. Do you think you can
Oh.
do it? So I came up with a 60-second speech in 2 minutes. And really, honestly, I didn't prepare much because I was like panicking, because that's quite the time frame to give somebody to do a public speaking event.
Mhm.
So I kind of just was like truly speaking my feelings and like just talking about how important it is for trans folks to receive abortion access, because a lot of times we face, like there's the ultimate stigma of just having an abortion, and then there's the stigma of being trans, and like
Mhm.
those things are like, double up on trans folks who need that access. So, yeah.
Certainly, certainly. Well, looking forward to the future, to the new year, especially since the Virginia chapter is so new. What kind of goals are you looking forward to accomplishing with the Virginia chapter, and what else are you looking forward to do with them?
Yeah, just to provide a little bit more context on kind of like the direction trend is going on, I'm going to start with a
Hmm.
personal story, if that's okay. So I, after working on the school board as like kind of like a lobbyer, a lobbyist slash community organizer, getting folks to pack these meetings and all, emailing those folks, all that stuff. I met former delegate Joshua Cole before he ran for office. And he eventually ran for office and won for House of Delegates, which is like our state legislature. Excuse me. And when he won, I just called him and I was like, hey, I live in Richmond, right? Since that's our capital. And he said, sure. And I said, so I'm going to be your intern, right? Um, and he said, yes. He is also the first Black and the first queer person to win that seat ever, which is also in Stafford, Virginia.
Wow.
It's really exciting.
Hmm.
Um, so under him, he started helping draft HB 145, which provided model policies for trans youth in Virginia public schools. And he came to me and he was like, other than Danica Rome, our trans person in the Virginia House of Delegates, you are probably the only trans person who's going to see this before it like goes public. And I want your feedback. So I actually got to help be involved in that process. Um, and because of that legislative experience, one of the goals we have for Tran is to do legislative work. So we
Hmm.
kind of have a few different like working groups within our organization. So there's community events, that's for like getting folks together to just be in community.
Hmm.
We have direct action, which is like the protests and the rallies. Mutual aid, which is like, helping folks, whether it's with housing or gender affirming care, like we will help kind of move money around to get them that access. And then lastly, we have a legislative team. And our legislative team is like currently, I can't talk too much about it because the deadline hasn't passed yet, so we don't know anything for sure. But we are working on some stuff surrounding trans rights in Virginia, and like interstate bodily autonomy.
Oh, that's important. That is so, so good. And if people wanted to find out more information about if they wanted to find out more information, how are they able to do that?
Yeah, so they can follow us at it's at VA underscore Tran 22. That's on both Instagram and Twitter.
Hmm.
They can also follow me. I recently deleted my Twitter because I was being attacked by some conspiracy theorist on the alt-right.
Hmm.
And I just had enough. So I was like, this isn't worth it. But my personal Instagram is at Belotti, Belotti, VA. Um, yeah, and that's the best way to keep in touch with us. Also, if folks happen to be in Virginia, particularly Nova, where we're looking to expand more, because we have quite a few members in the Richmond and Charlottesville area. So we're trying to get more people in the Southwest and in Nova. So if anyone in Nova in particular is interested in like joining or learning more information, there's an interest form in the bio of those two accounts.
Awesome. Well, we're going to have those links in the description below. So, viewers, if you're looking to get involved, if you want more information, go ahead and check that out. Bo, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been such a pleasure having you here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks so much. Viewers, please be sure to follow Team Rayceen Productions on all forms of social media and click around our YouTube channel, check out our other interviews, vlogs, and more. Most of all, thank you for watching.